Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is attempting a break to the downside from this pattern, which could set up a bearish price target, while the Bitcoin dominance is also breaking down, which signals a possible altcoin season. And on top of that, Ethereum is now retesting an important level on the chart, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now this bearish divergence is still active here on the price of Bitcoin, which means as of right now, we're still due to see reduced bullish momentum, at least in the somewhat short term here on the daily time frame, which can usually play out over a few weeks. And once again, reduced bullish momentum means either choppy sideways price action or potentially a bit of a pullback here in the price of Bitcoin. But this bearish divergence by itself is not enough to confirm a bearish trend reversal from bullish back to bearish. And so once again, it is still possible to see, for example, a sideways consolidation or a bit of a short-term pullback within a bullish trend. Because if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY in the red line right here on the same time frame, we can see that right now the DXY is still trending to the downside on the daily time frame, which is bullish for Bitcoin and crypto when you're talking about the trend also on the daily time frame. And so it is important to understand that, of course, this does not mean we're going to see 100% bullish price action and no bearish price action at all, because once again, during a bullish trend, we can see short-term bearish moves here and there. And so once again, at least as of right now, we have not actually confirmed a bearish trend reversal for Bitcoin, which means as of right now, I'm still leaning bullish in terms of the trend on the daily time frame. It's just right now we are taking a bit of a pause from that bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously right now, as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is attempting a possible break to the downside from this ascending triangle pattern, because this line of support is sitting at around 42.7k to 42.8k approximately. And at the time of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is sitting just below that line of support. But at least as of right now, we have not really seen any significant confirmation actually confirming the break to the downside below that support. And so ideally, we need to see a 12-hour candle close at least below this line of support in order to see some confirmation of a break to the downside. Or even better, if we actually confirm some candle closes below support and then came back up and retested that support and flipped it into new resistance by seeing a retest like that, then that can be extra confirmation confirming the break to the downside. But of course, we don't always see retests when we're breaking an important level on the chart. That just happens sometimes, but when it does happen, it just means we have more confirmation for the break of that level, which means we can be more confident that the price is heading in that direction. And so at least when it comes to my personal trading strategy, when we start to see some initial confirmation signals, I begin to open a small trade at the breaking point, but I start off very small and I basically add to that position once we see more confirmation. So for example, more candle closes below support, or if we see that retest, I'll use that as an opportunity to add to a possible short position in the scenario that we're breaking to the downside. But once again, at least as of right now, at the time of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin has not yet confirmed the break below this line of support. So right now, we don't really have any confirmation at all. But if we do end up confirming the break to the downside below that line of support, then that would set up a technical price target at approximately $38,000 per Bitcoin. And so from where we are right now to that price target, that's roughly around an 11% move to the downside, which could be coming next for Bitcoin if we first confirm a break below this line of support. But if we do not end up seeing any confirmation confirming the break to the downside, and instead we actually see a quick bounce like this back to the upside and breakouts above this line of resistance, which by the way is sitting at around 44.2k, then in that scenario, if we see a quick bounce and breakout to the upside above resistance, then that will set up a bullish price target sitting at around 49.6k. And so either way, it doesn't matter if we're heading in the bullish direction or the bearish direction, as long as we see some confirmation of the actual direction that we are heading by confirming a break of one of these levels. Obviously, as traders, we can profit in either direction using long positions or short positions. And if you're wondering where I personally take these trades for the price of Bitcoin and other crypto assets, personally, I take these trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposits bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto and make one trade over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take this next trade, you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But anyway, getting back into the Bitcoin charts, staying on the 12-hour time frame, and right now we still have this ascending line of support, which is sitting at around 41.8k to 41.9k approximately. And so if we do end up confirming that break to the downside for this ascending triangle pattern right here, then of course we could end up finding support around this line of support right here, which means it's possible we could potentially bounce around that support. And as for other supports here in the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we also have this area of support sitting in between around 40,500 going up towards around 41,000. And so obviously it is important to keep in mind where those areas of support are sitting on the chart, because if we see that break to the downside confirm here in the price of Bitcoin from this ascending triangle pattern, setting up that bearish price target to the downside, obviously we could potentially still bounce at those areas of support. And so due to that reason, if we confirm this break to the downside and I enter that short position trade for this breakout trade right here, of course I will take some profits off the table around these areas of support. And now obviously I won't close the entire trade at these areas of support, because we could potentially just break to the downside further and actually hit the full technical price target if we first confirm the break to the downside. But due to the increased probability that we could bounce at those areas of support before hitting the price target, once again it is worth, at least in my strategy, to take some profits off the table for a short position around those areas of support if I first enter into a short position, if we first see a confirmed break to the downside below this ascending line of support, which as of right now has not yet happened. But remember, this is not personal financial advice, because I don't know your personal financial situation. I'm just letting you know my trading strategy when it comes to these breakout trades right here. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin funding rates and the funding rates for a lot of other cryptos across a lot of different exchanges, right now these funding rates are still extremely above their neutral rate, above the neutral rate of 0.01%. And so once again, what this means is that the long positions out there are paying a massive premium just to long the price of these crypto assets. And right now, with these funding rates as high as they are, it's basically unsustainable to keep these funding rates at these levels for very long periods of time, because right now the long positions are paying massive funding rate fees to the short positions, which means even if the price goes completely sideways, the longs are losing a lot of money and the shorts are gaining a lot of money due to these funding rates. And so essentially these funding rates are acting as an extra bearish pressure on the market, trying to push prices lower, because once again, when you open a long position or close a short position, that adds buying pressure to the market. But when you close a long position or open a short position, that adds selling pressure to the market. And once again, these very high funding rates mean that the long positions are paying a lot in fees to the short positions, which means the short positions are making a lot of money just due to these funding rates right here. And so that basically financially incentivizes longs to close and shorts to open, which once again adds selling pressure to the market. And so due to this, I would not necessarily be expecting significant upside here in the short term for the price of Bitcoin, or really for most of the crypto market, because ultimately we do need to actually reset these funding rates at some point soon. Of course, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, but some point soon we do need to reset these funding rates, because right now, while the funding rates are this high, they basically act as a limitation, limiting the price of crypto assets and how high they could go in the short term. But remember, that's just talking about the shorter term here, not the longer term trend. So in terms of the larger trend here on the daily chart, I'm still bullish. It's just right now we're taking a bit of a pause or a slight setback from that bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the weekly time frame, right now the Bitcoin dominance is actually breaking below this critical line of support, which has been acting as support for well over a year now. And this line of support is sitting at around 52 to 53%, more specifically around 52.7 to 52.8%. And as of right now, we have actually already seen one weekly candle close confirm below that line of support. And already with this next weekly candle, of course, we've continued further to the downside, breaking below this line of support. And now, technically speaking, we have not yet fully confirmed a trend reversal into the bearish direction, because at least for now, we have not yet confirmed any lower lows or lower highs. And so so in order to become more confident in the Bitcoin dominance beginning to play out a bearish trend here on the weekly time frame, once again, we ideally need to see at least some lower lows or some lower highs begin to form. But right now, with the Bitcoin dominance breaking below this ascending line of support, this is an early signal of a possible altcoin season brewing in the market. And now, obviously, in recent weeks and months, some altcoins have performed very well, but keep in mind, that's barely within an altcoin season. This isn't really an altcoin season at all, because a significant altcoin season would look something like this, with the Bitcoin dominance crashing massively to the downside, or even like this, where we see a very large move to the downside in the Bitcoin dominance. That is an example of an altcoin season. So just imagine the gains that we've seen in some of the altcoins in recent weeks and months, and basically times that by 5 or 10 or 20, and that is the type of gains we could expect in an altcoin season once we see more confirmation of a bearish trend reversal here in the Bitcoin dominance. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the weekly time frame, and right now the price of ETH is continuing the massive breakouts from the massive ascending triangle pattern on the weekly time frame. And over the last couple of weeks, we've actually seen a successful retesting this previous resistance, which is now acting as new support. And so despite what's happening on smaller time frames in the short term, once again, we can always see bullish or bearish price action in the short term, but on the much larger time frames here, in terms of the larger trend, I'm still very much bullish here on the price of ETH. And in fact, the technical price targets for this ascending triangle pattern breakout on the weekly chart is sitting at around $4,300, which from where we are right now to 4.3K is around an 80% move to the upside with no leverage. And so potentially at some point during 2024, we could end up seeing the price return up towards around $4,300 or potentially even higher, depending on what happens with the Bitcoin halving cycles. But at least for now, that is an active price target. But obviously, I would not expect that price target to be met immediately, because remember, this is on the weekly time frame, so each one of these candles is an entire week. So obviously, it's not like we're going to see the price of ETH at $4,000 next week or even next month. It's going to take some time to actually get there, and we're likely going to see some pullbacks along the way. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH actually invalidated this previous bearish divergence, these previous higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI, but is now potentially forming a new bearish divergence here on the daily time frame. Because at least as of right now, we have confirmed a new higher high in the daily candle closes in the price, while the RSI on the daily chart is still sitting in lower highs, which once again is potentially a new bearish divergence forming. But even though this new bearish divergence is potentially forming, right now it is not yet confirmed. So at least right now on the daily time frame, we have no bearish divergence active and confirmed, but we have a new one potentially forming, which is worth paying attention to. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour ETH to US dollar chart, right now the price of ETH is actually retesting the breakout line, the neckline for this inverse head and shoulders pattern, which by the way is sitting at around 2330. And that is also the point of invalidation for the breakout to the upside for this pattern, which means if we confirm a break back below 2330 with candle closes back below that level, then that would invalidate the breakout to the upside, invalidate the price targets, and invalidate the pattern. And so obviously it is important for the price of ETH to hold above that level right there in order to continue the breakout to the upside towards the technical price targets, which by the way is sitting at around 2510 to 2520. And obviously right now the price of ETH has gotten as high as around halfway between the breakout and the price targets, which means personally, if I miss this trade altogether, of course I would only potentially enter the trade around a possible retest, but personally I'd not be betting too much on this trade, because once again we already made it roughly around halfway to the price target and so far have reversed from that point. But that's just letting you know what my strategy would be if I missed that trade altogether. But once again, I did actually take that long position. As I said in my last video here on the channel, I opened that long position right around this breakout, but due to the fact that the price ran into this resistance just here in the short term, I did actually close some of that trade around this area of resistance, taking some profits off the table. And I also moved my stop loss up towards my entry price, which means in the worst case scenario, I already am profiting from the trade. I've already taken some profits off the table, and the stop loss would exit me out of the trade at break even. And so once again, if you want to take trades just like this to profit from these moves in the price of crypto, then you might as well check out those links down below this video to get set up on one of those exchanges if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But as for short-term support and resistance here on the 4-hour chart, once again, we have this area of resistance based on these previous highs sitting in between around 23.80 going up towards around 24.10 approximately. And as for short-term support, we have this price range, which was previous resistance and also previous supports back here, sitting in between around 23.10 going up towards around 23.30. And so once again, we could potentially bounce around that area of support, but in a more bearish scenario, if we invalidate this breakout to the upside for the inverse head and shoulders pattern and break below this area of support, then we would basically be re-entering into this massive sideways consolidation range, which means we could potentially drop back down towards the low end of the range, which is sitting in between around 21.30 going up towards around 21.60 if you're looking at this area of support. And if you want to know how you can profit from crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, you can profit in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using longs and shorts, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.